理ですか？ええ、クロエさんは詳しいかなと思いまして。はい、料理のことなら知ってますよ。前に本で読んだことあります。知ってる、本で読んだことがある。いやでもこの際背に腹は変えられませんわ。実は剣術大会のお弁当を
Without a doubt, this was the shortest episode of the season so far. I have this steady and fast rule, as I'm sure you guys do too, of like, when an episode feels so short, you know that it was really good. Like, I feel like this episode was over in the blink of an eye. The credits started rolling at the end, and I was like, what? No, there's no way the episode just started. Oh, man. Tearmoon Empire is just so charming. The amount of just... not charm, because it's charming. It's exuding charm from everywhere. But the amount of different faces, different expressions that they have on Mia and how things are coming together, like, I just absolutely love it, right? Like, she goes and she befriends the bookworm, okay? And she knew of her and her merchant relations and stuff. But before we got Mia going and interacting with the bookworm, we got context of the character of her trying to make friends with like anybody. And Mia goes, and this girl thinks, oh, she's pitying me. You know, she's such a good person, blah, blah. But little did she know that Mia was like, oh, I really want somebody to talk about this book with. You like books, read it with me, you know, and they potentially might even have like a future book club or something in the future. And the narrator is like, oh, little did Mia know that this friendship is going to do nothing but good things for her in the future. And I was like, that's so cool. Then the horse who sneezed on her last episode, full circle, all right, comes back. And the horse's owner was somebody from the equestrian, which is like, you know, horse riding empire. And he sees her in a different light because she was like, oh, you know, horses are so important because they can take you wherever you want to go. And what she meant was like, the hell away from this kingdom when I have to escape, you know? But in his mind, she was thinking, oh, she just hit me with something really deep and furthers my love for horses, right? So, like, again, and every time I see, like, the guillotine chasing her, it's just such a funny scene. Then you think of, like, the next part of, like, her orchestrating the bento box stuff, right? The lunch boxes. And she ends up having to ask one of the two people who got her on the guillotine before for help. And then she orchestrated, oh, well, you just give yours to Sion. I'll give mine to Abel, you know? And then the knight of the kingdom, he was like, oh, she's so smart. She orchestrated this group thing so they don't, like, nobody has to get tied up with the princes of, like, you know, like, this doesn't have to be like some kind of like political move, essentially, because she's doing it in a group and the group is giving it to these boys. It's more or less like this friend group kind of thing. So it's less of courtship and less political. But he's like, why do I feel like I got a shiver down my spine about this scenario? Then you have the scenario with Abel and her and getting their strings crossed, you know, getting their connections crossed, and him thinking that they like each other, but her just being like embarrassed kind of things. Like their feelings, he was like, oh, I like you more. But really, she didn't say I like you. She just said, I feel stronger. He's like, I feel stronger. And she's meaning like embarrassed, and he's meaning like I love you, and just that whole like that's hilarious. And then you have the end of the episode as well too, when Abel is there and he's like overselling the bento box, and you know he's thinking like, oh, if I win the tournament, I can say your bento did it, and now she's feeling like all this pressure. Like it's just so good. And like I'm telling you, it just exudes and drips charm everywhere. But like the expressions and the funny moments, like they're just plentiful. And they just like, it makes me laugh and smile throughout the whole thing. Like it's just so good. And again, this episode felt really short. I felt like we didn't like cover anything, But yet in explaining it, right, I just explained it for almost 5 minutes now. It's like there was a lot that happened this episode. And it gave context and nuance to a ton of other things that are going to come. But this is how I love context and nuance to come when it comes to a show, is sometimes the contextualizing of characters or worlds or areas or missions. Sometimes they don't always, actually they mostly never hit the mark. And these types of episodes that are extremely entertaining, well contextualizing and setting up, really nailed it. But typically your normal anime doesn't nail it. And it's like, those are like the farts in the cans. Those are like the episodes that like, okay, let's get on to the next one. This one was, it was so good that even though it was contextualizing, nuancing, and setting up what's coming, it was so entertaining. So that's why this episode, this show sets itself apart from others. Is it just does what others aim to do so much better. At least that's my opinion of it, and I hold it in high regard. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comments below. You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you guys for next week's episode number 6 next weekend. Yeah, 6 next weekend. All right. Peace out, my friends.